Hey, before I start this episode, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the competitiveness that seems to be happening this year in PGY2. So many more, as I've heard, are committing to PGY2 early, so I think there will be fewer spots for you to apply to. So your level of letter, your level of recommendations, your level of success in your PGY1 is going to matter a lot more, I think, this year because PGY2s are getting jobs, and I think that there is just this fear with the job market that it's not going to happen. If you want me to help you write your letter of intent, I can help you with up to 2 letters for $75. My turnaround is around 24 hours, might be a little slower here at the holidays. We'll make sure at the very outset that I can meet your deadline. Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. So I wanted to talk about PGY-2, letters of intent. I can't believe I completely skipped this subject, but I have been helping those from PGY-1 to PGY-2. It's kind of fun because it's so different than writing from pharmacy school to PGY-1. And I want to first caution you. ACCP has on their website PGY-2 candidate F. Please don't use that as your model for this letter. I can tell you mathematically why that is an absolutely terrible letter of intent. And it really comes from the generic nature of the letter. It looks just like all the ones from PGY1. It talks in broad generalizations, not giving a personal much of anything. And nothing is worse than seeing, after speaking with Dr. put in that person's name, it reaffirmed my interest to pursue your program, which is right out of PGY1 sample letter from UCSF. So I can also tell you mathematically why it's so bad. So you're supposed to be at a high level, and the Flesch-Kincaid grade level for that document is close to 16, which means that 21, 22-year-olds can understand it. But it's the Gunning-Fogg score of 18 that makes it so difficult to read. I know that in academic literature you're going to have long sentences, but you should not have 29 words in each sentence. So just please stay away from that letter of intent. That is just a terrible, terrible example of what to do. And I think ACCP is a fine organization, but that is a terrible letter. I'm going to tell you what you should put in the letter and how to do it. Now, what makes me so big shot that I can talk about this? Well, I taught English at the college level, and I have an English degree in undergrad, and I have master's training in English, and the training I have is at the PhD level in rhetoric and professional communication. And my GRE score is 98 out of possible 99 in English. So I know what I'm talking about in terms of what makes an impactful, thoughtful letter that an RPD or a resident would want to read. Now, the real reason that it really matters so much and you can't get away with something like that is that now you are competing with the top 10%. So mathematically, those 8,000 people that are going into residency now, 4,000 of them will get residency. So that was half. But then of those 4,000, 800 will get PGY2s. So 800 over the original 8,000 that applied is what's going to get into those PGY2s. You want to be very careful about speaking to the RPD. Don't try to show off. They're not just somebody who did a PGY2. They are responsible for the training of a PGY2. So be humble, say what you're working on, say what you're doing towards that, but don't try to show off with your clinical saves and things like that, because I think it could only go badly. I cannot even tell you how good they are at what they do, and it's at such a high level that any bit of trying to show off will go up clear. So, on a positive note, here's what you should put in. So everything has to be at a higher level with the big five. And this is why it's so fun for me, because it's like, working at that doctoral level. And I'm not talking professional doctorate pharmacy where you can finish in 5 years. I'm talking 4 years bachelor's, 2 years master's, 5 years PhD, that level where you are just crushing it and getting all of these right. So the 5 parts don't change. It's how you use them that do. So when you use clinical, you have to be very clear why this specialty is what you want. And the easiest way to do this is to, one, evidence this by the electives you're taking in PGY-1. So if you're going to do PEDS PGY-2, of course you are at a PGY-1, maybe a children's hospital, but at a minimum, you're going to be taking the electives in, I don't know, pediatric, the PICU, the NICU, and things like that. So it must be clear that the clinical work you are doing and rotations you are taking, just like your APPs for PGY-1, are going to be those that make sense for PGY-2. Second, your research is moving right along, and your research should probably be focused in that area, and you would have to explain why it isn't. So if you're saying, I want to do PGY-2 in PEDS, but you're doing an ambulatory care thing on geriatrics in your program, make clear that your program was not very flexible in who gets to choose the research topic. But you can tell them that you learned all of those things as far as data collection, statistics, and things like that as it relates to PGY-2. Third, teaching. If you are precepting students or you're getting a certificate program, you can talk about some of the things you've learned, but also that you noticed when you have a student that has that passion for the same thing you do, that it's just so much easier to work with them, so much more fun. So, talk about maybe a student who was like, yeah, they loved PEDS too, and it was just kind of cool to be able to take that to the next level, where I really do well teaching the others, but if they've loved PEDS and I love PEDS, it's just awesome. And that's really what I want with the PGY-2, is finding a mentor that loves that specialty that I do. Okay. But also make sure to talk about the electives in the actual website. So when you go to their PGY-2 website, you're going to see you want to talk about those required rotations, and you want to talk about those elective rotations as it relates to maybe a possible research project. Fourth is the teaching. Oh, no, that was the teaching, sorry. And then fourth was the leadership. So maybe in your residency, you don't end up as chief resident till second half, but you're talking about how you're excited about the opportunity and the things you're doing to build up towards that. But also you can just talk about how things are on task and you're easy to get along with, and all of the things that you've done as a leader and working interprofessionally. And then service, while community service and being on APHA and ASHP and those things worked for PGY-1, when you're talking about service for the residency, it's going to be saying, and you only have to mention one, but that you took on an extra project or extra work in some capacity or another to be a good team player, a good member of the group. So again, clinical, research, teaching, leadership, and service, they must all clearly point to your PGY-2 specialty. I think it's more important to get 1-inch margins and 11-point font at the smallest for these because you've got less applications coming in and you've got someone who's very interested in this group, and so you can write more. Don't feel like you have to write a one-pager now. But what I keep seeing over and over again is 10-point font, 10.5-point font, having the margins, trying to fit more. It's just like if you have someone in your life that is talking more about themselves, that does not make you more excited about them. What you want to do is talk more about the site in their clinical and research and teaching and leadership and service opportunities, or to continue them if you're continuing at the same place. And then kind of the last thing, I mentioned this at the beginning regarding that sample document that's out there. Go to https://www.webfx.com/tools/read, READ -able/. That site will allow you to see what your readability score is. Now, I mean, I do all of this stuff for the people that I'm helping with their thing, and I don't even tell them about it. I just do it to make sure that it's readable, it's the data is there, the support that it's readable and much better. I go way past the professional Grammarly. But it is a different joy to help people moving from PGY-1 to PGY-2. And you do want to have that Flesch Kincaid level, close to 16 to 20 for that higher level, but that gunning fog score has to be much lower because you want to make it readable and concise, as I do when I, do those editing or the professional editing and so forth. So anyway, hit me up if you are interested in me helping you. For something like this, though, I can only really handle 2 letters for the $75 if you want me to help you with your PGY-2 letter of intent. Hey, thanks for listening to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast. And if you're interested in learning more about the interview process, go over to Amazon.com where you can check out 100 Strong Residency Interview questions, answers, and rationales in print book, ebook, and audiobook.